welcome. How are you doing? So, I'm going to get into reading a little bit of this book, a couple passages here and there, and I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to go in depth on some of the aspects of the book, the writing, the deep spiritual truths, my own experiences and such. And we're gonna have fun, and it's gonna be a little adventure. We're gonna do this. Let's do it. All right. So this book it's a pretty interesting book. I've been reading it a little bit here and there. It's called ADIYOGI, the source of yoga. So Adi means the first. So it's like the first yogi, thousands and thousands of years ago, 15,000 years ago. The first yogi, written by Sadguru and someone else with a really hard name to pronounce. But it's a pretty good book, and let's get into it. I'm just going to read a bit, and I'm going to comment. I'm going to read a bit and comment, and it's going to be fun. Let's do this. So join me. Oh, and like and subscribe if you haven't already. It'll help my channel if you subscribe, because I'm a brand new YouTuber. Okay, let's get into this. I'll read a little passage. You could simply begin by looking up at the night sky. At first glance, you see the moon, that mysterious orb that has fascinated lovers, poets, and mystics down the ages. You also see a blaze of stars, from radiant, some more dimly luminous, but if you continue to gaze upwards, what you gradually become aware of between the sprinkling of stars is just emptiness, right? The vast, vast, deep emptiness, the void. An enormous expanse in which stars are just a small phenomena. Stars, suns, planets, these celestial bodies come and go. Entire solar systems and galaxies come and go. But that darkness, that dark emptiness that endures, that which is necessarily finite, but that which is not can only be darkness. Light is produced because something is burning up. What is burning up can never be eternal. Whether it is a light bulb or the sun, both are sources of illumination with limited shelf lives. Both are burning up, and someday they will be over. It may take 100 hours or 100 billion years, but both will be over. In this existence, the only thing that is eternal is darkness. So when you are a spiritual beginner, the divine is usually referred to as light. As you progress in yoga, we refer to the divine as darkness, and that is Shiva. Shiva. That's interminability. That's a big word. I'm going to skip it, if you don't mind. Forgive me for skipping this word. That black, another word. Does that mean Shiva is nothing? No. Shiva is no thing. The hyphen is important. Shiva is. But Shiva is not something. Shiva is that which is not. Shiva is the lap of vast nothingness, which creation has happened. Over 99% of the atom and the cosmos are, in fact, as we are told today, emptiness. Simply no thing. So in the yogic tradition, when you utter the word Shiva, it means that you have ignited your own longing for no thing. Or to put it another way, you have awakened to the unique, unquenchable human thirst for that which is beyond physicality. You have begun to seek that which is beyond limits, beyond borders, beyond boundaries, that which is beyond all definition. That which is not comes into your focus only when you start seeking your ultimate well-being. When you're seeking your immediate well-being, that which is very important. This is the familiar world of the material phenomena. Your body, your home, your work, your relationships. When you begin seeking your ultimate well-being, however, you are interested in a dimension beyond the physical. Once questions of material well-being are addressed, it is only natural for individuals to ask questions about their ultimate well-being. This has happened with all the ancient cultures on this planet. This is the natural progression of human inquiry. Yeah, makes sense. It's really simple. Like, half the world, or maybe a quarter of the world of the population, they're only thinking about their next meal, and how they can pay rent or get their next meal. They're not thinking, how can I evolve spiritually, but when that stuff is taken care of to more or less of a degree, I guess everyone has desire and craving and dreams and such, but a lot of people, they're curious about what happens when you die. Where do you go? And what is this massive cosmos that goes on for billions, and trillions and quadrillions and googleplex light years? That to more or less of degree, that's what we think. It goes on forever. And when you're curious about the world of non-form, it's interesting. You're opening a can of worms when you would get curious about the physicality world, and then there's non-physical, the non-form. So it's interesting to think about that, and people can get deeper and deeper into the spirit world, thinking about it and being curious about it. And it makes sense too. Before there was form, what was there? Say there's nothing. There's no forms. Zero forms before creation, before the Big Bang or whatever, before there was any physical form whatsoever. What was there, I think it was primordial life force. In the yogic traditions, in the yogic culture, there's several physical energies that they've named and figured out and seen. There's a few of them that are on the physical plane, though, these energies, but there's also several on the non-physical plane. They can go really in depth, these yogis. So these energies that are non-physical, very interesting. I think they said the human body, or the human soul, has two physical energies about it, and then two non-physical energies about it. And then there's the main elements that are attached to it, I think. Fire, water, earth, air, and Akash, which is space, empty space, or the energy that inhabits empty space, which is a non-physical energy, I do believe. I don't know enough about Akasha to talk about it, but I know very, very little about Akasha. I've heard about the Akashic records, though. It's like they keep records of everything. Every soul has like four main pillars of memory for all of your past lives, and then four other main pillars. I think the main four are like relationships, job, family, and I forget what the other one is. And then the other four are like spirituality, something. I don't remember, but it's interesting. And these go back, hundreds of lifetimes. These records get recorded. It's like stats on a video game. If you ever played open world video games, like say Skyrim, just for an example, you go into the stats while you're playing, and it shows all the, like, I think there's like 20 or 30 different stats, like how many chickens you killed, and then like how many bad guys you killed, and like how many people you pickpocketed, and then there's like all these lists and all these stats. So it's kind of like that, the Akashic records. But what is, in the yogic culture, what is Akasha, or what is Akashic, or Akash? They call it Akash or Akasha. It's the fifth element, and it's space. So they say it's empty space. They put it really bluntly. They're just like, it's empty space, but it's more than that. I think it's the energy that is in the empty space. Now, is that the darkness he's talking about in the book? I don't know. It could be. In the yogic philosophy, I think Brahma is the primordial God form before there was form. But they have so many different names, so I think it's Brahma is the main one. But I mean, there's also Shiva, which is the void that the lap of existence rests on, or is inhabited on, or within the void. And then the Shiva is also at the beginning and the end too, where there's creation, but then somewhere in the middle, creation, there's destruction. So Shiva is also destruction. In the Bhagavad Gita, somewhere, I haven't read it, so I found it kind of, I don't know, annoying. But in the Gita, I think Krishna is saying, I am all these great things, but I am also time, the destroyer of everything. So it's like saying God is everything. But if you're saying God is everything, that includes all the good and all the bad, creation and destruction, and the void that's there before creation and the void that's there after, more importantly, which is the bare essence, the bare essential primordial force, because it doesn't change, right? It's there before existence and after existence. It doesn't change. It's a changeless, timeless essence. And that's interesting. If you've read I'm sure you have, the book called the Tao Te Ching, the Tao Te Ching, or it's not the Tao Te Ching. It's just Tao Te Ching. Yeah, Tao Te Ching. It speaks of the Tao. He's like the Tao. One of the quotes is, the Tao was there around before God was created, which is interesting because that speaks to that primordial form, right? That primordial essence form before creation, before gods. We made images of God and created them and worshiped them, right? And another thing is kind of on a different topic. In Hinduism, there's like 300 plus million gods that they've documented, which is a lot. But it's something's lost in translation when you say 300 million gods, and it's the word God. Though that word was put on to Hinduism from the West, from the British, I think. But it's not actually a correct translation. I think they're Devis, not gods. So that's closer to angels, right? And then Brahma is actually the god, like a god, like the primordial force. But all the 300 million gods, they're more like forces of nature or Devis, or elements, forces of elements of nature, like codes, the codes of the system, the codes in the matrix. But they're Devis. They're not really gods. It's a bad translation. They're Devis. But in the West, we just call them gods because we don't know what a Devi is, right? A Devi is like, it's like an angel. It's a higher being of some sort that has some sort of powers that may or may not have ever been human. And then there's the asuras. I could be wrong about that. And those are like on the opposite side. They're like demons, right? But yeah, the demons and angels is a closer. It's not quite right, but it's a closer to what actual Hinduism is about. If you have any questions, put them in the comments, or if you have any corrections, because I could be totally wrong about a bunch of this stuff because I'm just learning it. I'm a fairly new to Hinduism and yoga culture and understanding. Not super new, but it's not like I wasn't raised in it, you know. I wasn't raised in a yogic ashram, and I wasn't raised in Hindu culture. So I could be wrong about so many of these things, right? Please correct me if I am wrong. Where were we? Shall we read a little bit more? We're at let's finish this page and see where it takes us. In yoga, existence is divided into 4 dimensions: Stula, Shukshma, Shunya, and Shiva. Stula means gross existence or physicality. So that's form. Everything that you can sense through the 5 senses, 5 sense organs. Everything that you can see, smell, taste, hear, and touch is considered physical or stutha. It is measurable, quantifiable, verifiable. It can be analyzed by your intellect, understood, and grasped. Interesting. But when existence goes beyond the empirical, that is, beyond the perception of the five senses, and is still physical in nature, we call that shukshma. Okay, so that would be like a physical energy. You can't see it, but it's still physical. I think. I could be wrong. Shukshma is a dimension that is still physical, but cannot be grasped through the five senses. I mean, you could feel energy, maybe. Nor can you analyze it with your intellect. Okay. Gana means knowledge. If you are able to perceive the dimension of subtly, I don't know that word, beyond ordinary knowing, we call it Vishashagana or Vaigan. Extraordinary knowledge. Vaigan is the ability to perceive those dimensions which cannot be perceived through the five senses. Oh. Today science is entering those spaces. Interesting. So science is catching up with the yogis, essentially. That's what he just said, I think. I could be wrong. Nobody is ever going to see the, I don't know what those words are, Higgs boson. So that's interesting. So that's another thing, another interesting aspect is some yogis, they sit in caves and they grow these weird heightened senses and weird spiritual abilities, so they can perceive these energies that we can't perceive. And that's a lot of how they figured out about all these types of energies. Oh, my neighbors are making noise. Yeah. Through growing their senses, their ability to hear way further out of the range of normal hearing, human hearing, they can hear way out of that range, like 5 times more deep, and they can sense nature. They can sense like a storm coming 5 days ahead. They can feel it and see it, sense it. They can hear things. Every thing has a vibration and a sound. They can hear the sound of everything. Like a piece of wood, they can hear it because of how it's vibrating. Everything has a vibration because everything is just energy vibrating, but that also means everything has a sound, and these yogis can hear everything. And also they can hear each of your main 7 chakras. I think there's 102 chakras, but the main 7 ones, the big ones that align with like your head and your spine, they can hear the sound of each of those main chakras or chakras. I should say chakra because that's what most people have heard, the term chakra, the way they say it. I think in India, maybe in Indian culture, it's chakra. Just like guru. I hate saying the word guru. It sounds like an energy drink to me. Guru instead of guru, you know. Anyway, like and subscribe, and have a good one. And there'll be more coming down the pipeline. Peace. Namaste.